So, hello everyone, and welcome to this Winning Sales Flow webinar. My name is Paulus Perkkiö. I'm CEO in Seidat, and actually, I have been working quite a long time in many kind of sales, not positions, but I have been working in sales quite a long time, about 30 years, and 20 years of that as a professional designer or consultant, and at the same time selling services or IT software. And today we have an agenda where we are going through topics about sales flow. What is sales flow all about? What kind of ingredients winning sales flow should include, like from sales process point of view, from meetings point of view, and from collaboration concept point of view. And we are going through also at the same time sales flow from the point of view how it should work in hybrid or virtual or face-to-face sales. And of course, we go through shortly different kind of sales materials, how they should work how they should be designed to make winning sales flows. And of course, shortly in the end, how Seidat and winning sales flow are connected. Chat is open all the time, so if you have anything to ask, please ask. I'm here together with Emma, and Emma is sending links, for example, in chat to, for example, to live session of this presentation. So please click that if you want to see this presentation in Seidat live mode. In the beginning, I want to also tell that we have many social media channels in LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. And on those channels, we are telling you all the time what is coming next, what kind of webinars we are gonna have, and how our platform, Seidat Sales platform, is developing. So follow us. I think it's very worthwhile. We are today having webinar about how to create winning sales flows. And if you think about sales and the current situation in sales, what is the sales efficiency? And if 37% of time of salespeople is actually used for sales, it's very low. And if you think that 65% of salespeople can't find content which they should send to their prospects, it's awful. Or if salespeople are using 13 hours per week of their whole work time looking and creating sales content, it's quite a lot. And I think if we are thinking more detailed of these figures, it means that sales flow is some way broken. And but actually, if we think about sales flow, what is flow? What does flow mean? We can think flow as a lean from the lean ideology. It's like a flow, how everything must be so simple and work. The processes are developed very detailed and cleaned as much as possible. But how I'm thinking about flow, I'm thinking more the flow as an experience. It's my background is in design, and in design we are quite many times discussing about flow experience when you are designing some product or graphic identity or whatever, and you have this first part of the process where you try to generate as many ideas as possible, and to get those many ideas, it means that you must produce many ideas, and to make that happen you must have some kind of flow. You must drive yourself to that flow experience. And what is said in this is exactly directly taken from Wikipedia. In the flow experience, a person devotes his or her full capacity to focused, goal-oriented activities. It's goal-oriented always. And what is also in the end of this chapter said that people are happiest at such moments in their lives when they are in flow, when they have that flow experience. And if you think about salespeople, I say that I'm a designer, and designers are thinking quite a lot that they are striving to get that flow experience when they are generating ideas. And I feel myself as a salesperson that this flow experience, it's also happening in sales. If you have a sales meeting and everything goes well, you will have some kind of flow experience. And I also say that salespeople are typically the most creative persons in companies. If you are selling, for example, any kind of services, you must be quite innovative. You must understand quite quickly what are the needs of the customer, how could you solve them, what kind of solutions you can offer. And it means that you must have creative on very high level. And so this flow, creativity and sales, they are really connected together. Then, if we are discussing about winning sales flows, now we think, now we understand shortly what is flow experience, but what is sales all about? How I see, if you think about from sales point of view, that sales people are always discussing about this kind of process where you at the first try to get understanding of your customers' needs. And when you understand those needs, you try to offer some kind of solution. You make a proposal, for example. And after that, you try to get positive decision. It's like a process. It's sales. But at the same time, if you think about that same thing from the buyer's point of view, it means that they are trying to buy some value. They buy some service or product, and it should bring them some value. And there is an expense. You buy something, it costs something, but at the same time you must maybe invest your own time or your team time or whatever. So there are many kind of expenses before you will get that value from that service or product. And when we think about more detailed about sales, I would say that this process what salespeople are thinking about, need, solution, decision, and what buyer is thinking about, we could put them together and think that way, that need, okay, it's something what is you must understand, but this solution, it should be that kind of solution where the value which you will get from that service or product will be much higher than those expenses what you must invest into that process. And if you make good sales, this value is always much higher than expenses in the solution which you are offering. It's sales. And this is the way how I'm thinking about sales. And then what are those winning sales flows? As I said earlier, there are three categories which we are thinking about in winning sales flows, and they are the sales process flow, meeting flow, and collaboration flow. When we think about this sales, I have tried to visualize here one kind of image of sales. This is a process. It goes step by step, like stairs, towards the deal, winning deal. And during that process, it typically starts in many cases for example, it can be email or it can be phone call, but maybe two persons are discussing some way. Then they decide that, okay, this is good thing, sounds good, and we need to have a meeting. It can be remote meeting, for example, today, very typically. And in that remote meeting, maybe there is one more people or two more people joining to that meeting, and they are discussing about those needs more detailed, maybe shortly about the solution. Then the sales continues, and they want to have a face-to-face meeting. And in that face-to-face meeting, they are going more detailed, discussing more in the team, what are really the needs, how should we implement this and that to our own processes or in whatever. And if everything is succeed, then you will make this deal. So there is this process, there are many meetings, and there is a collaboration. There is collaboration between buyer and seller, but there is also collaboration between buyers, and there is collaboration on salesperson side together with maybe the whole sales team, but there can be also collaboration or should be collaboration between sales and marketing. And this whole image, if your process is not working, you will not have winning sales flow. If these meetings, if they are not working, you will not have winning sales flow. And same thing with that collaboration point of view. If your team is not perfect, there is no flow at all. And now I think it's nice to go through this more detailed step by step and beginning that from this sales process. What is the role of sales process in that whole ideology of winning sales flows? And as I showed that visualization, we can think also this sales process this way, like we are typically thinking in Seidat, that typically before you have any sales meeting, you maybe send some content, email, you can maybe send something in LinkedIn, in mails, and it's content which will help you to have a better meeting. Then comes meeting, where you go through maybe your sales deck. After the meeting, you will send memos or sponsor letters or whatever. You may have a second meeting once again and continue until you will create a proposal, and the process will be finalized by signing the agreement. It's the sales process. And if you think about this sales process, it's very typical that people are thinking, for example, presentations only so that they are part of meetings. But how we are thinking about, we are using presentations in every part of that process. We create this introduction content using our tool. We are using our tool in meetings. After the meeting, we create memos to our customers, collecting those slides which we have used in the meeting, and then adding those things which are important for our customers. Then we create a proposal and then e-sign the proposal so that it will be an agreement between us and our customer. This is the sales process. And if there is also immediately there is a collaboration part, because if you are using tools like Seidat, during the whole process, whenever you send and share your content to your customer, these marketing technologies are connected. So you can see how your customer is using your sales content. You can use HubSpot for that. Then you can connect your social media channels using pixels, so that, for example, in Facebook, if you share your content to me and then I go to Facebook and visit there, you can direct remarketing to me. And I think this is an amazing way to make collaboration between sales and marketing. Marketing can support this whole sales process much easier when you have this kind of opportunities, that when you are selling to someone, they can direct social media advertising to your customers. I think it's an amazing thing. Also, it's very amazing that you can get that all usage information to your marketing analytics tools like Google Analytics. There you can see how your customers are they at first checking your presentation decks and then moving themselves to your website, or do they jump between those things, and how everything goes. So you can start developing your whole sales process and your marketing process, because you have more data of that, how your customers are behaving during that process. To make good flow for the process, it's also important to think about those sales steps. How you prepare yourself, for example, to meetings, or for the whole process. How you find all that information, what is needed of your customer, and then when you contact them, how you could use that to get strong start. How you will build the trust, how you will find all those needs which your customer has using different kind of survey techniques, and how do you demonstrate your product or service and create a proposal, close the deal. And if you think about this process, to make it work well, you must define quite well, for example, this kind of steps. What should happen before the meetings, in meetings, and after that? Think very detailed of that process things. But you must also have clear process, for example, in those situations when you meet your customers, in those meetings. And if you think from that point of view, I would say that, for example, that the way how you build trust during that process is very important part to make that winning process. Building trust, I think it's the most important first step, because without trust, you can't get your customer to that feeling that they will tell you what kind of needs they in reality have. I have good examples from my years in sales. For example, in one of my companies has happened that kind of situation that we opened a new customer account and started a project and in other company. And then we told to my other company that there is that and that kind of needs. And the sales guy went there and he tried to get the deal. But what happened? They said that, okay, we have solved everything, so no, there is no need to continue that discussion. After 2 weeks, I went to that customer once again and discussed about that project which we have already started in that other company. And then they said they were a little bit ashamed and told me that, okay, there was one sales guy visiting us and we said that everything is okay, but everything is not okay. We don't have resources for that project, what we need. We don't know who can take those photos and everything. So could you help me? So it happened that this trust building, there has happened something. And after it has not worked that well, they have told some told lies, so that it's not exactly how they say it. But it has happened, I have seen that many times, that if you don't build trust well enough, you can't find those needs. And if you can't find any needs, then you can't offer any solution. If you can't offer any solution, you can't close a deal. And because this trust building is so important, many times people are asking me, how can I measure if there is a trust or not? And one way is this, for example, if you can measure it, for example, then in Finland at least this works, that if your customer is laughing and really well smiling and you will start getting a conversation, you are on that level that you have enough trust. I know that there are more extrovert cultures in other countries and it works otherwise, but in Finland people are not so much smiling all the time and they are not always discussing. So if you if you have enough discussion, then you can continue. Then, if we jump to that sales meeting concept, I think those sales meetings, they are moments of the truth. They are really important part of typical sales process. Those meetings and all those situations when you are changing information with your customer, you are interacting with your customer. In those situations happens the most important parts of sales process. And that's why if you want to impact to your sales results, you must think and develop those parts of your sales which are interacting with your customers. So in that part, which is front line of the this customer interaction. So typically, when we are contacting our customers, many people are saying that, okay, we are developing our CRM tools or we have a coaching process coming, and that's the way how we want to develop our sales results. But for example, this CRM development, it's back office work. It's not developing the experience how your customers are thinking your company, your product, your sales team, and that's why it's not so important. Of course, it must work. You must have a CRM tool. Your team must use it, and you must have enough information there. But to impact your sales results, I'm quite sure that developing those things where you are interacting with your customer, they are the most important ones. Of course, we can say coaching is also very important. It can help you to communicate, develop, for example, those meetings. But how we see it is that coaching is it's not that long-lasting effect. When you have a coach session, maybe today, tomorrow, maybe even next week, everything goes well. But after that, you maybe don't anymore remember what you have been thinking about with your coach. So that's why tools are, I think they are crucial part of sales development. To develop tools, develop content, materials which you use in sales meetings, for example, they help your whole team to concentrate to that discussion. They help you to implement the right way to make that sales. And how we, for example, think sales presentations, if I take the previous slide, there I can show that when we create sales content using Seidat, there is typically, the structure is this kind of matrix, where you have this upper line, which is like a pitch deck level, elevator pitch. And then you can navigate deeper whenever you want to give to your customer more detailed information. So you start from here and go this direction, and whenever needed, you can navigate down. And this matrix structure from left to right is actually typically the structure of the meeting. It begins with introduction part where you are discussing or interacting with your customer and who I am, who are you, what are your responsibilities, what are your business goals, and this kind of conversation. Then comes this need survey part where you clarify your customer needs. Common solution part where you tell that, okay, there are this and that kind of ways to solve those problems, solve those needs, but our solution, your solution is this, and you must work with your company because of you have this kind of references, and the process goes this way, and the next steps are. This is typically the process of sales meeting. It can be divided to two parts, and typically it has been done that way, that, okay, you have this need clarification part, and then there is a solution part. But it can be also in one meeting. It depends on your business. But if you have a tool where you have a content which helps you to go this way, from introduction to next steps, step by step, using presentation, slides. It helps you to make it exactly how it should be made. For example, I have been selling so many years, many kind of professional services, that I exactly know how I behave. And it's very typical that when people have, in the early beginning, people are typically doing right things in right order. But when you have more experience, you are trying to make everything faster, and maybe I can step over that part and continue that way. But it's not working that way. To make best possible results in sales, it means that you must go step by step from introduction to this deal closing. And there are no ways to jump over some parts of that process. And the better you have that content which helps you and your team to make everything exactly as it has been planned, and what is your best experience, how you will get the best results, the better sales meeting flow you will have. It's also very important, this matrix structure. It's very important also from that point of view, that sales is not something which you can make a process like those rails which trains are using. Start from this part and the goal is there. It's never going that way. It means I have seen so many times that when I go to my customer, there is something what I didn't know before I went there. There is some kind of jackpot coming during the meeting, and immediately I need to change the direction. And that's why, for example, in my sales deck, which I'm using, I have 150 slides. But because I have this matrix structure, I typically use maybe 10 to 20 in one meeting. But I navigate using, for example, this presenter view which we have. And from that view, I can immediately navigate as I want. So, for example, in this meeting, this webinar, I have jumped a little bit. Not exactly I have planned, because I have got a better idea during this webinar how to go everything through. Jens has raised a hand. Do you have something to ask?
Yeah, I have something to say and something to ask. First of all, you stated very clearly that coaching is something you forget quickly.
No.
I don't agree with that, as you might, and I understand you want to pitch your deck instead of coaching, but as you can guess, I absolutely don't agree with you. The second thing is what I found, and I'd like to get your point of view on that. What I found is that you got 7 seconds of creating trust and connection in the initial part of the web meeting. So how would you do that with your special Paulus touch? being in the experience as you are? How do you connect with the person the first 7 to 15 seconds? That's my question.
How I see that in web meetings, for example, if you ask that from
web
meetings,
only.
I think that I don't believe that it's only 6 or 7 seconds, but they are the most important parts of the meeting. And how I see that is that, of course, if you have a virtual meeting, you must have your camera on. You must have good lighting so that your face is clear, and you can see your eyes. Your customer can see your eyes, and you are watching directly to the camera. I think those kind of things are very important. And then you start speaking very clearly. Of course, the way you are speaking, for example, I have closed deals to USA and many countries, but my English is on this level. It's not perfect. I don't say that you must speak perfectly something language, but of course you must be clear enough to make that communication on that kind of level where you can understand each other's well enough. But I think this camera and short introduction, who I am, is very important. Of course, like in face-to-face meeting, it's important what you have on what kind of shirts you have and that kind of things, what kind of colors there are. They are that first impression thing. But for I would say also that in virtual meetings, the first impression of your company is not only yourself, your face and your voice, but also those presentations.
Yeah. Thank you so
this
much.
presentation, when you show that, it's something, it's your public identity of your company. And I think it's very important.
Thank you.
Now we come to that collaboration part of this sales flow. I said here that, of course, during that process, there are this marketing connection, but I want to discuss shortly with you about content creation point of view. For example, if you think about the process, how you develop and how all kind of presentation content is developed in your organization. There are many kind of roles. It's not always so that you have this kind of titles in your organization, but there is marketing people or people who has marketing role or branding role. There is offering people like product managers, service managers, technology managers, and there are people who are developing your sales processes, sales content, sales tools, and all kind of that things. And then there is sales teams typically. There can be sales teams for small and medium sizes. There can be enterprise sales. There can be verticals like for building industry or industry, account companies, design companies, whatever. There can be localized sales teams and so on. And then there are your customers. And if you think about the content creation of your sales materials, for example, it happens typically that there is a marketing team who is creating some kind of templates. They create company presentation slides, for example. Then comes product teams, and they are creating product decks. They add there some kind of technical content, and they typically maybe use those slides which this marketing team has created for like introduction, and then they add their own content to the and they create those product presentations. Then comes business verticals, those sales teams, for example, and they add those arguments which are perfect for their segments. And for example, the building industry, you must sell it this way, and you will add those slides for building industry, and in automotive industry, only one slide is enough maybe. Then comes salespeople, and they are adding here some customer-specific slides. And if you think about this process, how your sales content is typically developing, there is this kind of features. And it means that there are many people who has joined to the process. Someone has created maybe a year ago something about your company, something developed, something last month you published new features in your product and they added some slides there. And then your sales managers added this and that here for your segment, and then you want to add this and that to your when you are presenting that to your customer. So that process is it's really complex. And it makes that, for example, marketing people, they are typically thinking that, okay, they want to be always up to date what kind of content salespeople are using, and they want to control that. But if you don't have tools, if you are using, for example, PowerPoint, it's not possible to control anything what salespeople are doing. So that's why to make that cooperational part, collaboration working really well, you need to have tools like Seidat or some other cloud-based content management platforms where you collect all your sales materials and mix them there. In Seidat, we have this kind of concept that if you think about sales, those marketing people who were in the left side, if they want to update, for example, branding things, colors, your fonts, and that kind of things, the change will happen immediately in every presentation, which product managers, segment people, and salespeople are using and developing. If they want to add something about your company, it's all immediately. If they want to change, for example, what is your last quarter turnover, it will immediately update that information in every presentation which the whole collaborative team has created in different parts of that process. So you must have this kind of tools to make this very complex process working and to make collaboration on that level where you can develop better and better winning sales flows. Time is flying and it's time to take next chapter, this part where we have opportunity to think if there are any differences between virtual sales, face-to-face sales, or hybrid sales. If you think about face-to-face people, they are typically saying that if you are using face-to-face sales strategy, it's easier to make bigger deals with better win rate and feeling, maybe have better connection with your customers. And then comes virtual salespeople who say that sell more fast and more efficiently by online meetings. But how I see, virtual sales and face-to-face sales are not mutually exclusive. You can include both of them and have hybrid sales model. If you think about this question and go back to face-to-face sales process, for example, in Finland, it's very typical that you are selling in building industry renovation services. For example, still there are people who are selling renovation services, going from door to door and knocking on the door, clicking the doorbell, and hi, I'm Paulus from this and that company. Could I check your roof if everything is okay, and so on. And they immediately try to make the deal when they find something to prepare or fix, and then they try to close that deal. And they will stay to that family until the deal is closed. But for example, if you think about virtual sales, you can't make that way. It's always too easy to stop the meeting. If you want to jump from this webinar, please click the red button and you are away. It's always same thing with online sales. It's very easy to stop, too easy to stop. So you must have very, very good process. You must go through, you must have right steps, right methods, right content, material which you can use during the process to keep it working very well. And how I see it goes that way, that you can't use exactly same methods which you are having in face-to-face sales. You can't use same methods in virtual sales. But typically those methods which you are using in virtual sales, you can convert them more easily to face-to-face sales. So whenever you are developing virtual sales processes, online sales processes, you can adapt those tricks and contents and materials to also to face-to-face sales. And whenever you are developing those things, I think the sales design thinking is something what you should keep in mind. How to make buying as easy as possible for your customers. And also thinking that way, that it's not only the product or your brand identity which makes your success, which makes your winning sales flow. You can also develop the whole sales process, sales flow, so that you will be distinctive. You must develop everything so that you will have uniform quality in your team. It must be reproducible so that you can go from customer to customer using same kind of processes. And of course, it must be cost effective. I think this sales design concept is coming from industrial design world, where I have been long time ago. When we developed new products for manufacturing, so that everything must be always, the design must be distinctive, and the quality piece must be on high level. It must be manufactured in your factory, and of course everything must be cost effective. But same things can be included to sales. sales tools supporting this whole sales flow. I think this question, are your sales tools supporting this sales flow, is very important. And how I see, presentation decks, they are great part of sales. Because if you have good sales deck, as we discussed earlier, to get first impact, the presentation itself, the presentation deck itself is one part of that first impact for building trust. If you have a good presentation, it makes some kind of wow effect. If you have developed that supporting your process, it will help you to close the deal. And if you have tools like Seidat, it allows you to have some kind of better interaction during the sales. And for example, in this slide, we have this kind of fire as a background, and I think this kind of campfire is nice place where typically I really like to meet my family or my friends on campfire. We will have a team day in 1 month, and we are going to Nuuksio in Finland, and we will have there some campfire discussions. It's very interesting way to meet people. But if you have a good presentation, this good presentation deck could work as a campfire. You collect you and your customers around that and start discussing, and it's directing all the time the discussion to right direction so that you can close the deal. And why presentations are also important is that if you think about why you should use slides, people have studied quite a lot this topic, and if you think about that, if you could only hear my voice, maybe you will understand, or you will get only 10% of my message. If I add some slides with text, for example, which you can read at the same time, you will get twice as much as only listening me. But whenever you add visualized content to your slides, so that you try to visualize what's happening, how this abstract thing is working, your customers will understand even 80%. And this jump from 10 to 80 is very big. I'm not interested to discuss if that's exactly those numbers, but I have studied so much this kind of researches that all of them are saying same kind of things, maybe a little bit different research background and research results, but the direction is exactly same. Use as much as possible visualized things and you will get better results. And that's why we have developed Seidat. This Seidat is a platform, it's cloud-based platform for managing all kind of sales content. You can create them here, you can present using Seidat, share, collaborate in Seidat, and analyze how your team and your customers are using the content which you are sharing for them. It's one place where you can keep all content, sales decks, proposals, and all training materials, and use them with any device. You can use them with laptops, tablets, mobile devices, with Windows, Macs, Android, iOS, with any kind of devices. And I think it's very important, for example, if you think about virtual sales. As Emma has shared the link to this presentation, you can share this kind of link to your customers and use your phone at the same time and share the content without any screen sharing devices, without any logging processes, without any installations. It's very fast and secure and it works always. And I think it's very important in sales that you don't have technical problems. If you want to hear more about our tool, please go to our website, and on that website you can find this kind of calendar where you can book meetings. Of course, you can embed this kind of calendars also to your web also to your presentations, and many other content too, like calculators to tell more about the ROI, return of investment, and why not to add, for example, chatbot to your proposal which you have created to your customer and get more information if there is problem still. I really want to thank you. It has been big pleasure to be here. We will have more webinars. Typically there is coming user trainings for Seidat, admin trainings, and many kind of sales design webinars. But please follow us in social media. There we will say it immediately when we have scheduled next coming webinars. Thank you and have a nice autumn time. Close as many deals as possible and make new records. Thank you and bye.